Welcome to the Best of July Beyond Coaching episode. We start this Best of episode with a theme that seemed to resonate with all of you that listened and across the conversations last month, and that's authenticity. Or more specifically, what Luke Jones from Reclaim Today called congruence. He challenges us to think beyond appearance and image with Generation Z and focused on our alignment between our words, our actions, and our leadership presence. Gen Z is constantly navigating filtered realities, and Luke makes an exceptionally strong case, in my opinion, that they're not searching for perfection in leaders, they're searching for congruence.
But then in actuality, they ended up being this way. And I think that just speaks to the authenticity aspect of the desire there is to have someone that is true, that is congruent. I was talking with a friend a couple of days ago around just this idea of character. Another word for character is just congruence, is having an alignment where what I say, how I live, how I think, and then what I do are in alignment and have congruency. And I think a lot of ways that's the desire, is to see that,
Yeah.
to see where is someone congruent. If they say something, are they trying to get me to just do something, or do they actually believe that I could become this kind of person with their coaching or their leadership in my life? And so you're right, like sniffing out a fake is probably easier maybe even due to social media, just so used to massaging reality, maybe trains a young person to, which I'm a part of. I'm young.
I do that too. I can
Yeah,
sniff you out.
totally. Like we've been trained in the
That's
art
well said.
of filtering, and so we can recognize filters pretty simple and pretty quick. So, yeah, authenticity is huge, and I think to miss that is to miss the heart of the student and the heart of the athlete. Which is what I love. What you talk about, in your podcasts is, the skills, team cohesion, and the heart of the athlete. Each of those things working together, that speaks of congruency, which I think is a value.
We revisit with this podcast a lot, talking about those moments when emotions run high and expectations clash and how we're going to act. And Luke and I talk about this in our episode of when coaches act out of alignment or out of congruence in those situations, and how to recover from that, and how a simple apology can become one of the best tools for restoring trust and connection with Generation Z. Enjoy this next clip.
I think the congruency even goes, so my role as an athletic director, when things get really bad between player coach, I get to see it. And often either it's rarely in between, is my experience. Either somebody's crazy and we just got to calm them down, or somebody's owed an apology. It's never in between. And when a kid's own an apology, it's because a coach did not act with congruency in a stressful moment. They're not a bad person, but a stressful or a moment that took them off guard, they acted in a way that was counter to who they said they were to kids.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that gets to faith, character development, how you handle those moments. That's certainly not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And those are your body, your person is primed to respond the way it is prepared to. And those are the crucible moments of when that comes out.
Do you think Gen Z appreciates just the authenticity of coaches or leaders come back, say, "Hey, I screwed that up, man, my bad"? Do you think they respond well to that?
Yeah, I think I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm definitely in that age group. I'm 31, and yeah, I would definitely say that when you can, I think too often we try to put up guards to protect ourselves from vulnerability, where vulnerability is the key thing that develops relationship and authenticity, and friendship and relationship between coach and student, or coach and athlete. And so having that ability to be like, hey, I messed up. Like, I shouldn't have responded that way. I mean, I see this in raising my little daughter as well. Like, I'm primed and prepared to respond how I respond in a moment of tension. With a toddler, and how I respond is good or is bad. And when it's the wrong way, it's such a better thing to do is to say, hey, I messed up there, So I think that's a huge bridge to build with Gen Z, and there definitely be receptivity to.
In this last clip from the episode with Luke, we talk about the stereotypes of Gen Z being lazy or apathetic, and he pushes back on that pretty hard. He thinks the apathy is actually lack of invitation. It's not that they don't care, but they haven't been showed how to lead and engage. So he reframes this in a way that I think is very interesting and challenges our thinking. Enjoy.
Anything else you see on the stereotypes?
Yeah, that's good. I think that's a really good one. I think when you try to, like, apathy, for example, they're apathetic. They want to just be drug around, or I think that's a communication barrier than an apathy thing. Maybe just the right person or the right approach to a conversation or the right sort of setting hasn't clicked for them. And so I think when we just label it and say, oh, Generation Z is maybe apathetic and is a bit lazy, or whatever word to throw in there, I just don't think that's true. I think that there's a group of people, a generation that are excited about making a difference, really want to have like a gritty difference in the world that embraces their Monday, embraces their Tuesday, embraces their actual life that they live. They just need some, like you said, they just need some guardrails and someone to believe in them to help stoke that flame in them. And so they're not lazy. I think they just need some of that to be primed and pumped out of them, and need the right people in their lives and the right environment for that to come alive.
Over the past 6 weeks, we've picked up a lot of subscribers. So Dustin and I decided to do an episode where we revisited some of our base philosophy at the Impactful Coaching Project. And in this clip, we talk about competence, which is the first C of our 3 Cs. And it's not just about knowing your sport, although it's a barrier to entry. It's about knowing how to discern good information, who to learn from. And in the world where Gen Z has access to more content than ever, your knowledge better be deep. So here's some thoughts from us on that.
If you're not competent, one of the things that we've said is you're you're either you're lazy. We've added fearful in there. And meaning there's too many great things out there to be able to see, to be able to learn. I think one of the things we've also discovered through not only our conversation, but others, is really being competent now is trying to decide what is the best material out there. Who's a good marketer and what has real knowledge.
And I think we've talked about, even you have to be knowledgeable on the stuff that's the bad stuff, because kids are going to gravitate on social media to the stuff that looks cool. You know what I mean? So don't you think? Or what's that look like?
Well, I think that, and one of our coaches said you've got to be better than the social media post.
Yeah.
I would go back to this, to know what you know, be confident in what you know, and what you don't know, start to learn that, but be real. We've said over and over, this generation can sniff out a fraud better than any generation ever, and I believe that to be true. I think there's also humility in that, to say, hey, I'm really good at these things. I'm going to get better here. Here's some resources for that. But in a world that's so connected, you've got to be competent.
Yeah. And we got that from Tim Elmore, where he says with this generation, you have to be authentic and you have to be competent. And really, authenticity goes into the competence piece, because you can't fake it. You can't pretend like you know when you don't.
Yeah. There's too many individual coaches, too many good club teams, too many bad club teams out there, where I think players and parents, for that matter, and other coaches will know. The other part about that, when you're competent, you're curious. You're okay with being challenged and ready to learn. I made this mistake, and then we can keep moving, but I try to be competent with other programs that were not equally yoked. So when I got my first head coaching job as a basketball coach, I went to a Big 12 school, and I watched them practice, and I watched their weight room session. I'm like, we're going to do that exact same thing. Well, the reality was, we were a different breed than that at that moment. And so I had to find a better model who was somewhat like us that was doing it really well. How could I steal, borrow, take, make my own, and be competent exactly where we were at? So,
Yeah. And I think there's a piece there too of it doesn't matter how much you know if you don't got horses. Kids got to be able to play.
I love that we say that
Yeah.
in ICP because it's a reality.
Yeah. In this final segment, Dustin and I dive into our second C, which is care, or we talk a lot about systems of care within a team. Not just about loving your players, it's about having a plan on how to do that day in, day out, month in, month out, year in, year out. So we share a few systems here and how we execute them. We hope you've enjoyed the episode. Thank you.
A football coach that we both know. And one of their systems of care is after football games, there's no more than, and you can correct the story, but it's 90 seconds. The post game talk, all the guys know in some way what we're going to talk about. And it's quick, it's succinct, it's real, and it's over.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think part of care is one, guys knowing, players knowing what to expect. But care is all the things of I hope my coaches are into coaching, to love on players, to grow with players, to challenge, encourage them in the right ways. It's organic. You've got to create platforms to do it. We've talked about, sharing the 5 H's. We've talked about meals. We've talked about one-on-ones. What are platforms that you do? And I would contend that before and after practice, guys, I love you. Thanks for being here. Hey, great job today. It's not enough.
Yeah.
That's the baseline stuff.
Yeah.
If that.
And I think back to when we talked to a group once and we posed this question, and a coach kind of said kind of combatively, well, I have them over to my house once they get to know me there, and I ask them how they're doing. And it's not that. I think it's consistency over time. And we say system because you got to be planned to work it out. And if I were to go back and coach again, I think one thing I'd do is I would shorten the post-practice talk, but I would make every assistant and myself, we'd walk back to the locker room with the kid and have some sort of positive thing to say beyond just, hey, good job, dude. And then as soon as they were done there on the way home, I'd just have them send one brief text to another kid. All of a sudden, there's 2 positive touch points after a practice. And if you're playing in a system, you'll hit the whole roster a couple times a month. But you have to be thinking about it and you have to be intentional.
Love it. That's a system. It's intentional. The organic piece is you allow that coach to share a heartbeat or share that message. You're going to think this is crazy. The last couple of years, I've done that through handwritten notes, through one-on-ones, and through food. Hey, let's go grab lunch. And it has very little to do with the sport and a whole lot to do with the heart and relationships and home life. And that matters deeply. And it's amazing and we all know this, we all say this, it's amazing what you can get a team, an individual, a group, an organization to do when they do feel cared about, when they do feel loved for. Yet, I'll guarantee you I'll spend hours on the practice schedule on a given week. Do I spend hours on those platforms and systems of care I can be better at? I think we all can. Yep. But I think it's the foundation.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be fancy.
No.
I mean, it just has to be something you can keep doing in a genuine way, even down to like in the weight room at Friends University, we do put ups or gratitudes at the end of every session where they're practicing affirming each other. So there's a lot there. Just have to simple and think through it and be disciplined.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Beyond Coaching. Beyond Coaching is a podcast developed and produced by the Impactful Coaching Project with the support of Friends University. The Impactful Coaching Project seeks to develop coaches that coach the whole person and is the thought leader in coaching the 21st century athlete. The Impactful Coaching Project produces training, information, and research to help coaches improve. To see more information, go to impactfulcoachingproject.substack.com. Thank you.